In case, it is very important, in case the GST component, I think you are aware, GST means goods and services tax. In case the GST component is comprised in the amount payable to the resident is indicated separately, when bifurcation is there, then kindly note that TDS will be on the amount paid or the amount payable without including such GST component. So kindly note this. Sometimes some confusion may be there, whether a GST component will be included or not. When bifurcation is there, when GST component is there, then you should deduct the GST component and TDS will be deducted. TDS will be paid or payable on the amount excluding this, without including the GST component. So it must be kept in mind. Now the question arises, as far as basic provisions are concerned, ki why TDS? What are the objectives of TDS? So in this regard, you must keep in mind that TDS is there, as we have already discussed in various other lectures, in various previous slides also. Uh, Taxation is the main source of revenue as far as government of a country is concerned. Or in India also, taxation is the major source of revenue for government, and government needs money for various developmental activities, for various infrastructure development and various other social welfare schemes, you may say. So it is necessary that tax is collected, the amount of tax is realized by the government at the earliest. So it is one of the way to realize the amount of tax quickly, to realize the amount of tax without any delay. And in this way, when we place the responsibility of TDS deducting the tax upon the payer himself, then in that case what will happen, it will result in effective realization of tax. So that is very much required in a country like India. And another objective is that amount will be realized on a timely basis. It will not be delayed, rather we will be getting the amount in timely manner. And when it is there, when TDS provisions are there, and when TDS, it is not sufficient to have TDS provisions. When our TDS provisions are duly implemented by the government and everybody is participating and everybody is doing justice to what he is required to do under the as per the provisions of TDS, then believe me, uh, lead to it will lead to a check on it will lead to a check on tax evasion through proper control and information. And chances of tax evasion, I can't say the chances will be, it will not be there. Tax evasion will be eliminated. It is not possible in that way. But yes, it is definitely, we are sure that tax evasion, the chances of tax evasion will be reduced to a large extent. So that is the objective of, you may say, this one. Now, again, TDS rules for high value cash transactions of making cash withdrawals from banks and post offices, applicable from 1st of July 2020. From this year only, these provisions have become operational. So, what are these provisions? TDS deductions rules for a person who has filed, for people who have filed ITR for last 3 years. In that case, in case in case TDS, in that case some withdrawal was there, and such a withdrawal of cash was over and above rupees 1 crore, then TDS is imposed. And if PAN have been submitted and ITR for 3 years have been filed, then no TDS for aggregate cash withdrawals up to 1 crore. So I have already told you that it is applicable for cash withdrawal over and above rupees 1 crore. It is not applicable below that, uh, provided PAN has been submitted and the ITR for last 3 years have been duly filed. And second category is TDS rules for those who have not filed ITR. In that case, for cash withdrawal up to 20 lakhs, no TDS. But from 20 lakhs to 1 crore, TDS will be there at the rate of 2%. And for cash withdrawals exceeding 1 crore, TDS will be there at the rate of 5%. So that must be kept in mind. Now, what are the various provisions? You see, this chapter is, I think, the lengthiest chapter. That is very lengthy chapter. So we must be doing it in brief. But my purpose is that you should understand the provision so that it is there and you are able to deal with the provisions in an effective way. So first, TDS on salary. Now, I think you better know that there are 5 heads of income. So in the first head, it is the duty, it is the responsibility of the employer. As I have already told you that under TDS, it is a duty. The responsibility is placed on the shoulders of deductor. So in the case of salary, the employer is required to deduct the tax at the time of payment of such income and then deposit it within prescribed time. We will be discussing that. Now, what is the rate of TDS? You see, in various cases, a rate is predefined. It is 1%, it is 5%, or as the case may be, but it is not possible in case of salary. So that is why, in case of salary, tax shall be deducted at the average rate of tax, computed on the basis of prescribed rates in force for the financial year in which such payment is to be made to the employee. So it should be kept in mind. Now, TDS on payment from EPF. I think you are aware EPF is basically Employees Provident Fund, social welfare measure. So section 192A deals with that. Now, who is responsible for deducting the tax? Kindly note that the trustees of EPF scheme 1952 or any authorized person, they are basically responsible to deduct TDS. When I think now it is clear to you, it should be deducted at the time of making the payment. And tax is required to be deducted on the accumulated balance that was there, but that was their balance due to an employee participating in RPF, that is a recognized provident fund. You should note. And secondly, in case accumulated balance paid to assessee is exempt, then no TDS, then no tax is required to be deducted. In other cases, you should note that the rate of TDS will be 10%. In case the employee has submitted PAN, permanent account number, it has been already submitted. Otherwise, in case PAN number is not submitted, in that case, the rate of tax would be MMR. It will be deducted at the MMR. And I think being the student of taxation, you are already aware what is MMR. It is nothing but maximum marginal rate. And when another issue is that when the aggregate amount of such payment to pay is less than 50,000, then there is no need to deduct TDS. So these were the provisions relating to TDS on payment from EPF, and section 92A I have already discussed with you. Now you should see that what are the provisions regarding TDS on interest on securities. What are the provisions regarding TDS on interest on securities? Again, it should be noted that the payer, the person who is paying, again I have already told you that deductor. So it is a duty of the deductor, it is a duty of the payer to deduct TDS at the time of payment of interest or at the time of crediting the pay, whichever is earlier. And it is applicable on interest on securities other than interest on government securities or other specified securities, if any. And what would be the rate of TDS? So rate of TDS, dear students, kindly note it is 10%. And when kindly note that in various provisions I will be discussing with you in the coming slides. So I will not be discussing this thing again and again. So kindly note it will be discussed in various other slides also, that in case a recipient, in case the pay applies to the AO, assessing officer, in form prescribed form, that is form number 13, and he is able to satisfy, he is able to justify his case, and the AO is satisfied, and AO, that means AO issues a certificate to the person. In other words, if the person is able to get a certificate authorizing the payer to deduct tax at a lower rate or deduct no tax, then it is to be submitted, and in that case exemption will be there or relaxation may be there. So secondly, one case is that when a declaration is form 15G in duplicate is furnished by the assessee to the payer, so in that case it may not be deducted as per the provisions of law. Again, kindly note that interest payable to resident individual or resident HUF on debenture is not subject to TDS, but provided what are the conditions that should be satisfied? Such debentures are issued by a company in which public is substantially interested, and it should be noted that such debentures may be listed or even unlisted, and interest is paid by the company by an account pay check, and amount of such interest payable during the financial year doesn't exceed rupees 5,000. So these are the main conditions. And any interest payable on security of central government, state government, so this I have already discussed with you. Any interest payable on any security is issued by a company when security is in demat form and listed on the RPF. One change has been there. One change is there in 2020 only. Now the dividend, earlier what was there? A dividend paid by the company, it was exempted in the hands of the shareholders. But now there is some change in the provision that I will be discussing just now. That this is the provision. As per the Finance Act 2020, a dividend paid or distributed by the company on or after 1st of April 2020, it shall be taxable in the hands of the shareholders. The company shall pay dividend after TDS, but kindly note that in case a dividend is up to rupees 5,000, no TDS is needed. That rate of TDS will be nil. Or in case for form 15G or form number 15H as applicable is deposited by the you may say pay by the shareholder with an self-attested copy of the PAN, again it will not be deducted, and it would be 7.5% for resident shareholders if PAN card is submitted, and if it is not submitted, in that case this rate will extend to 20%. And kindly note, tax will be assessed on the basis of various documents which have been submitted by the non-resident shareholders. And in case documents are not submitted, in that case the rate of tax will be 20% plus applicable surcharge and cess. So it should be noted. Now, what are the rates of TDS on interest other than interest on securities? Any person other than individual or HUF, any person other than individual or HUF, an individual or HUF whose books are required to be audited under Section 44AB during the financial year in which such interest is credited or paid. So it should be noted. The TDS on interest other than interest on securities. So in case the interest payable is up to 5,000, no TDS will be deducted. But again, one thing you should know that a banking company, cooperative society, which is a cooperative society in the business of banking, or a post office, will deduct TDS in case the interest payable or paid during the financial year is more than it exceeds rupees 40,000. It exceeds rupees 40,000 or a banking company or a cooperative society engaged in carrying on the business of banking and post office, they will deduct a TDS in case interest paid or payable is 40,000, no, sorry, more than 40,000, or in case of senior citizen. I think you know that in case of senior citizen person more than 60 years of age. In that case, if it is more than 50,000, in that case TDS will be there. TDS will be deducted. And I have already told you that when tax will be deducted, at the time of payment or at the time of crediting the pay, whichever is earlier. And what is the rate of TDS? It is 10%. Now, a provision of TDS regarding winning from lotteries, crossword puzzles, or winning from horse races. Again, it should be noted that it is a duty of the payer. It is a duty of the payer to deduct the TDS on such winnings in case the amount is more than 10,000. Up to 10,000, no, nothing is required to be deducted. And kindly note that TDS shall be deducted on the total amount, on the entire amount. And what will be the rate of TDS? It is 30% in case of resident individual, resident person, and in case of non-resident, it is 30% plus surcharge plus you may say HEC, we may say health and education cess. So it must be kept in mind. Now, TDS on payment to resident contractors for carrying out any work, including supply of labor for carrying out any work. What are the provisions? Again, the provision is same, that it is a duty of the payer. It is a responsibility of the payer to deduct the tax. When? What is the timing? It should be deducted at the time of payment or crediting the party, crediting the contractor, whichever is earlier. And now, what is the rate? You should note that in case payee is an individual or HUF, in that case, a rate is 1% of the amount payable, and in case of all other pays, the rate is 2%. The rate is double of what is there in case of individual or HUF. In that case, it is 1%. Otherwise, in all other cases, it is 2%. And that provision I have already told you, that is regarding relaxation or exemption. One thing you should note in this case, that no TDS will be deducted. There will be no TDS, no tax will be deducted in case regarding individual contract, the amount credited or paid is up to, it doesn't exceed rupees 30,000, and when the aggregate of amounts of such sums credited or paid during the financial year, it does not exceed 1 lakh. Regarding individual contract, it is 30,000, and aggregate of amounts of such sum, it is up to 1 lakh. In that case, no TDS will be required to be deducted. And when the amount paid or payable to a resident contractor, basically transport operator who is having PAN and who is in the course of flying, hiring, leasing goods carriage, and he owns 10 or less goods carriages at any time during the previous year. So it should be kept in mind. Now, TDS on insurance commission for soliciting for procuring insurance business. So it should be noted that a provision regarding the timing of TDS is the same. It is the same the time of payment or time of crediting the party, whichever is earlier. And the duty is there. It is a duty of the deductor. It is a duty of the payer to deduct and to deposit the amount within prescribed time. But main thing in this point is that TDS will not be deducted in case aggregate amount of such remuneration or reward credited or to be credited paid to the pay. It is not more than, it doesn't exceed rupees 15,000. So it should be noted. And what are the rates of tax TDS? In case the pay is a domestic company, rate of TDS is 10%. In case of any other pays, rate of TDS is 5%. And regarding exemption, I have already told you. This is the same for all the points. Now, TDS on payment of in respect of life insurance, including the sum allocated by way of bonus on such policy. So kindly note, TDS shall be deducted. When it will be deducted? It will be deducted at the time of payment. But in case the payment falls under exempted incomes, it falls under section 10 subsection 10D. In that case, no TDS will be deducted. And in case total payment during the financial year is up to rupees 1 lakh, it is not more than 1 lakh, it is up to 1 lakh. Even in that case, no TDS will be deducted. And what will be the rate of TDS? You should note, very recently a change was there. That is why I have shown both the amounts, both the rates in this slide. You should note that up to 31st of August 2019, the rate was 1%. No surcharge, health or education cess on entire payment. But on or after from 1st of September 2019, the rate has been increased to 5%, other things being the same. So it should be noted. Now, these are the very simple points you should concentrate rather. TDS on payment to non-resident sportsmen, entertainers, sports association. In case some payment is made to these categories of persons, then what is the rule? TDS shall be deducted at the time of payment or crediting the party, whichever is earlier. And this provision, I think you are aware, or by going through so many slides, I think now it is clear to you that it is the duty of the payer. It is the duty of the payer to deduct the tax, and TDS is deducted at the time of payment or crediting the party, whichever is earlier. Now, what would be the rate in this case? So kindly note that the rate of TDS would be 20% plus surcharge plus health and education cess. Now, payments in respect of deposits under national savings schemes, etc. Again, it is TDS will be made, TDS will be deducted at the time of payment. And in case the amount payable is up to rupees 2,500, in that case there is no need to deduct any TDS. And in case, kindly note that if the payee is resident, the rate of tax is 10%. In case the payee is non-resident, in that case the rate is 10%. But in that case, it will be 10% plus surcharge plus health and education cess will also be there. And regarding exemption and relaxation, you are aware. And TDS on repurchase of units of mutual fund or UTI, TDS will be deducted at the time of payment. And TDS on commission remuneration on sale of lottery tickets. Section 194G deals with that. Again, basic rule is that I am not going to repeat that again and again. The main thing is that if the amount of commission on such tickets is up to 15,000, it is not more than 15,000, it doesn't exceed 15,000. In that case, there is no need to deduct any TDS. And if it is more than this amount, this ceiling amount, in that case, what would be the rate of TDS? Kindly note, if pay is resident, the rate will be 5% of amount payable. In case the pay is non-resident, the rate of TDS will be 5% plus surcharge plus health and education cess of the amount payable. This is the change. Now, TDS on commission or brokerage other than insurance commission. We have discussed the provisions regarding insurance commission. Now, TDS on commission or brokerage other than insurance commission. A basic rule is same. Who will deduct? The payer will deduct. When it will be deducted, it will be deducted at the time of making the payment or crediting the pay, whichever is earlier. But kindly note that in case the amount payable or amount to be credited is up to 15,000. Again, no TDS will be there. And in case, I think you know that earlier, even now, maybe somewhere maybe there, PCOs used to be there, public call offices. So in case if it is payable by BSNL, Bharat Sanchar Nigam Limited, or Mahanagar Telephone Nigam Limited to PCO franchises, in that case it would not be no TDS is required to be deducted. Secondly, what would be the rate? It would be 5%. Again, TDS on rent. It is very important from general point of view also. You should know it. That again, the payer will deduct. He will be deducting at the time of payment or crediting the pay, whichever is earlier. But the main thing which I am going to discuss is in case the aggregate amount of rent paid or rent credited during the financial year, it is up to 2,40,000. It is up to 2,40,000. Then no TDS is required to be deducted. And if the share of each co-owner is known, then in that case limit of 240,000 is applicable to each co-owner separately. So you see, it is a great provision in fact. And if the pay is government, local authority under section 10 subsection 20 or some statutory authorities under 1020A, in that case also there is no need to deduct TDS. And what is the rate? Kindly note that in case of rent on machinery, plant, equipment, the rate is 2%. And in case of land or building, including factory building or land apportionment to the building, including factory building or furniture or fixtures, fittings, the rate is 10%. The rate is 10%. So it should be noted. It should be kept in mind. Then, what are the provisions of TDS on transfer of certain immovable property? Kindly note, transfer of immovable property other than rural agriculture land. It is a very significant provision, and section 194 IA deals with that. So kindly note, basic theme is that who will deduct and when it will be deducted. But kindly note that in case the consideration for the transfer of an immovable property is less than rupees 50 lakhs, in that case there is no need to deduct any TDS. But in case it is to be deducted, you may say that in case the consideration is more than rupees 50 lakh, in that case amount will be deducted, and what would be the rate? It is 1%. So it should be noted. And TDS on payment of rent under lease, under sublease tenancy agreement by certain individual or HUF. So again, it should be noted that TDS shall be deducted at the time of credit of rent for the last month of the previous year to the account of the pay or payment in cash. It may be in cash, check, DD, or any other mode, whichever is earlier. But in case, rent for a month or part, it is up to, it doesn't exceed 50,000. In that case, there is no need to deduct any TDS. But otherwise, rate will be 5%. Now, TDS on payment under joint development agreement. Section 194 IC deals with that. And kindly note that basic theme is again same, payer will deduct and it will be deducted at the time of payment or crediting the pay, whichever is earlier. Rate will be 10%. Fee for technical or professional service, section 194J deals with that. Again, basic theme is that payer will deduct and it will be deducted at the time of payment or crediting the crediting the pay, whichever is earlier. But one thing that is significant, that is particular to this case, that I will be focusing on, and you should go through that. You see, no TDS will be deducted. No TDS is required to be deducted if in the financial year the amount credited or amount paid is less than, it doesn't exceed. In case it is professional fee, it does not exceed 30,000. In case of technical services fee, again 30,000. In case of royalty, 30,000. But kindly note, in case of director fees, TDS is applicable. TDS will be deducted even if the amount is less than 30,000. Even in that case also TDS will be deducted. And what will be the rate? The rate is 10%. Rate will 10%, but it will be 2% in case PE is engaged only in the business of operation of call center. In that case, some relaxation is there. Otherwise, the rate is 10%. Now, TDS on payment of compensation or enhanced compensation on compulsory acquisition of certain immovable property. Section 194 LA deals with that. So again, that thing is clear that payer will deduct and at the time of payment or crediting the amount, whichever is earlier. Now, one thing that is main in this case, you should note that immovable property must be other than agricultural land. It must be other than agricultural land, and in case the amount of such payment does not exceed rupees 2,50,000, then in that case there is no need to deduct any TDS. And otherwise, in case the amount is more than 2,50,000, the rate applicable is 10%. So it must be kept in mind. And TDS on interest from infrastructure debt fund. Section 194 LB deals with that. What is the main provision? It is again the basic theme is the same. But one thing you should remember, that it will be the duty of the person responsible for paying income by way of interest by an infrastructure debt fund referred to under section 1047 to a non-resident or a foreign company, and the rate of TDS will be 5% plus surcharge plus health and education cess. It must be kept in mind. Now, TDS on certain income from units of a business trust. Section 194 LBA. Again, basic theme is same. Deductor, who will be deducted? The payer will deduct the amount, and when it will be deducted, at the time of making payment or crediting the pay, whichever is earlier. Regarding rate, you should remember. You see, I have depicted it in a simple table. In case payment is made to resident unit holders, then rate would be 10%. Rate would be 10%. Rate of TDS for amount, section 1023 FC. But rate will differ. Rate may differ when the amount of TDS is under section 1023 FCA. But in the first case, it is the same in both the cases, 10%, 10%. In case the payment is made to unit holder being non-resident, not being a company. You see, I think it is clear. Company is you see that a unit holder being non-resident but not a company. In that case, in the first category rate would be 5%, and in the second case it would be 30% plus surcharge plus health and education cess. But in case payment is made to a unit holder being a foreign company, then in that case in the first category it would be 5%, but otherwise it would increase to 40% plus surcharge plus health and education cess. And TDS on income of units of investment fund 194 LBB. Again, the basic theme is same. Payer will deduct, and he will deduct it at the time of payment or crediting the pay, whichever is earlier. What would be the rate? Some relaxed rate is there in case of resident, it is 10%. In case of non-resident, not being a company, in case of non-resident not being a company, it is 30%. In case of a foreign company, it is 40%. So it should be noted. Now, TDS on income from investment in securitization fund. Again, it would be deducted by the payer at the time of paying or crediting, whichever is earlier. But one thing you should keep in mind is that TDS will be deducted. TDS will be deducted by the payment by the person who is responsible for deduction of that. And regarding rate for individual or HUF, in case of resident, for individual or HUF it is 25%. For other resident it is 30%. But for non-resident, in case of company, it is 40%. In case of company, it is 40%. But for others, for non-resident other than company, it is somewhat less. It is 30%. TDS on interest to non-resident. Again, note that in case some money is paid, in case some interest is paid to non-resident, then in that case the rate specified is 5% plus surcharge plus health and education cess, and payment of certain sums by certain individual or HUF. 194M deals with that. Kindly note that individual or HUF responsible for paying these sums. You may say like to carry out some work, to carry out some supply of labor regarding in order to fulfill some contract. Then it may be by way of commission, not being insurance commission under section 194D already discussed with you, and any sum to resident by way of fee. In that case, in case the amount is up to rupees 50 lakh, no TDS is required to be deducted. But in case it is more than rupees 50 lakh, amount will be deducted and the rate of TDS would be 5%. And when it will be deducted, it will be deducted at the time of payment or crediting the pay, whichever is earlier, you are knowing. Now, other provisions. Kindly note, no deduction of tax will be made. No TDS can be made from any sums payable to the following persons. Government, it may be central government, it may be state government, RBI, that is Reserve Bank of India, a corporation established by or under the Central Act, and a mutual fund specified under section 23D. Now, that I have already discussed with you in the first slide. I have already told you that TDS is treated as a payment and you will be getting the credit for the TDS. When final assessment will be made, you will be getting credit, you will be getting benefit of the amount of already paid, amount that has already been deducted. As I have told you that let us suppose your tax liability, final tax liability is 90,000 and 30,000 has already been deducted by way of TDS. Then ultimately you are responsible to pay 60,000. 90,000 total tax liability minus TDS that has already been deducted 30,000. So remaining 60,000 is required to be paid by you. Now, certificate for no TDS or TDS at a low rate. This was there in various provisions. This was there, and it was written in the bottom of the slide. So let us discuss it in detail. First of all, you should know that section 197 deals with that. Application by assessing may be made in form number 13, and in case assessing officer is satisfied, then he may issue a certificate. In the certificate, it may be mentioned that kindly deduct the tax at a lower rate, or kindly no TDS should be deducted. But kindly note that the certificate shall be valid for the period specified in that particular certificate only. And it is not so that once it is issued, it will be for lifetime. It may be, kindly note, it may be cancelled by the AO at any time before the expiry of the specified period. And it will be issued directly to the person responsible for deducting the tax. I have already discussed, no deduction shall be made from the payment when NPS is there. So kindly note that in case of NPS, it is not applicable. National Pension Scheme, it is not applicable, so it should be noted. And one thing more, no TDS shall be made under 192A, payment of accumulated balance of EPF. So these provisions were discussed with you. Now, duty of person responsible for deducting TDS. I have already told you that it is the duty of the payer to deduct the tax. At the same time, it is the duty of the payer. It is not the sole duty that is to deduct the tax. More important is to deposit the tax, deposit the amount of tax with the income tax department. So TDS shall be deposited electronically through the internet banking facility to the credit of the central government within the prescribed time. When TDS, what are the various time limits? First category is when TDS is deducted on behalf of government. In that case, when tax is paid without production of income tax challan, so it must be deposited on the same day. And when tax is paid with the production of income tax challan, it must be deposited on or before 7 days from the month in which tax is deducted. Second category is there when the assessing officer, he has obtained prior approval from Joint Commissioner, and the Joint Commissioner permits, and sorry, assessing officer permits quarterly payment of tax. Then what are the various provisions? When deduction is made under section 192, 194A, 194D and 194H, in that case, for the first quarter, for the quarter ending on 30th of June, it is it should be paid up to 7th of next month, that is July 7th of July. And for the next quarter, that is ending on September 30th September, it should be paid before the 7th date, that is October 7, and it is January 7 for the quarter ending on December 31st. But kindly note that for the quarter ending on 31st of March, it is not 7th of April, rather it is 30th of April, as there is a closing, financial year is closing is there on 31st of March. So some relaxation, you may say, is given, and the amount may be deposited up to 30th of April. And in any other case, for the month of March, I have already told you, within forthcoming 30th April, and for the months other than month of March, within 7 days, I have already told you. It is as I have already told you, that it is a duty of the deductor, it is a duty of the payer to deduct the tax and to deposit the tax with the central government within prescribed time. At the same time, it is also the duty of the deductor, of the payer, of the person deducting TDS, that he should generate, and he should electronically generate and provide to the pay the certificate to that effect. Now, when salary is there, certificate number form 16 is given. And what is the time limit? Annual certificate shall be given on or before 15th of June of the financial year, uh, following the financial year in which tax is deducted. And for others, form number 16A is used. Form number 16A is used, and for that, quarterly certificate shall be issued within 15 days from the due date of furnishing quarterly TDS return. We are going to discuss that. Our duty to furnish quarterly statements in prescribed form. Kindly note, when tax is deducted from salary under section 1 and 2, form number applicable is 24Q. When tax is deducted from payment made to non-resident foreign company or non-ordinary resident (NOR), form number 27Q is applicable. And in various other cases, remaining cases, form number 26Q is required. Kindly note, it is specifically written in your syllabus, so you must be knowing about these forms. Now, I am discussing these forms with you as it has these have been. So first is form 24Q. I have already told you it is used for preparing TDS returns for TDS deducted from salary under section 192 of the Income Tax Act of 1961, and it is submitted on quarterly basis. Two types of annexures are there, annexure 1 and annexure 2. Annexure 1 deals with Annexure 1 contains the details of deductor, deductees, and various challans, and it is required to be submitted by the deductor for all the 4 quarters of the financial year. But as far as Annexure 2 is concerned, it contains the salary details of the deductees. It is not required to be submitted in the first 3 quarters, but it should be furnished and submitted only at the 4th quarter of the financial year with the details of employees' salaries. As far as Form 26Q is concerned, it is used for, I have already told you, for TDS, for all the payments like interest on securities, dividend, professional fees, director remuneration other than salary, and it is also submitted on a quarterly basis. You should be noting that. Now 27Q. It is basically required for non-resident Indians, foreigners, and various interest, bonus, or any additional income earned by them. And it is again submitted on a quarterly basis by the deductor. And finally, the income on which the tax is deducted at source includes or any other sum owed to non-resident Indian or foreigner. Now, what are the due dates for furnishing the quarterly statements? The quarter ending on 30th of June, it is 31st of July, due date for submission of quarterly return. For the quarter ending on September 30th, it is 31st of October of the financial year. For the quarter ending on 31st of December, it is 31st of January of the financial year. For the quarter ending upon March 31st, in that case again some relaxation is there, and it is in that case it would be 31st of May of the forthcoming financial year. So it must be remembered. So with this, dear students, I have discussed various provisions of TDS, various applicable provisions, various latest provisions relating to TDS, tax deducted at source, with you. Okay, thank you so much.